Ladies and gentlemen, this is a topic everybody should be talking about. ABC News National Archives letter shows extent of classified material previously at Mar-a-Lago. The letter alleges Donald Trump had more than 700 pages in his possession. He was the President of the United States of America. And it was Trump that leaked, his attorneys that leaked this letter. And when you look at the outrage over him leaking the letter, you realize that John Dean reacts to letter sent to Trump's legal team, CNN. Incomprehensible, Conway reacts to Trump's team's leaked letter. The reason Trump released this letter from the National Archives, and that I just read you CNN headlines. And so the reason that he released this letter to the public is to show the world that he's being tormented by mashed potato brains, our current president. So you're trying to, this is the thing, Trump is the kryptonite of Democrats, media, loyalists within the U.S. government. The one way the government can go after somebody is to bankrupt them, okay? Just like a giant corporation. He's a billionaire. You're not going to bankrupt Trump. And so, within this letter, and share the segment prior to this one, very important, within this letter, well, it's a letter, let me just recap. It's a letter from the National Archives to Trump, okay? It starts off, I write in response, it's one of the top officials of the National Archives, okay. I write in response to your letters on April 29, 2022 and May 1st, 2022, requesting that the National Archives and Records Administration further delay the disclosure to the Federal Bureau of Investigation of the records that were subject of our April 12, 2022 notification to an authorized representative of former President Trump. Do you think they would make such a big deal if it was Clinton? Clinton had top secret and special access program intelligence on servers. Secret. So, he's been in contact with the National Archives. He's been in contact with the Department of Justice. He's a former president with the power to declassify anything at will, even verbally, according to Politico. Clinton had top secret intel, classified data on servers running outside of the United States government for 4 years. At one point, according to Forbes and Fortune, they were unencrypted. Comey even stated there's evidence of legal statutes being broken, but no legal prosecutor would indict. There goes the rule of law. You know when they repeat that nonsense, nobody's above the rule of law. The rule of law was ripped to shreds by Comey. With Clinton, he even stated, well, you know, there's potential violations, but, we couldn't find intent. Inherent to owning secret servers is the intent to hide. Okay, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel, H.A. Goodman's other channel. I have a very important segment. I'm going to read the article, the letter, the entire letter on H.A. Goodman's other channel today. But, and I'll read you part of it here. But basically, it's stating, look, we're gonna tell on the Federal Bureau of Investigation, we're gonna tell the FBI on you. And we've been notifying, the President Biden, and you better give back the classified data that you have as former president for your library, not for your foundation, where hundreds of millions of dollars are being funneled into, and then, miraculously or coincidentally, 20% of U.S. uranium capacity is sold to our arch enemies. Okay, so could you imagine if Trump had secret servers, had an invasion in Europe under his watch, and then failed to veto the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity? Could you imagine the apoplectic biblical reaction from Democrats? Could you imagine? In their world, the Helsinki Conference is worse than 20% of U.S. uranium capacity being just, ignored. Being allowed to be sold at one point 20%. The rebuttal is, it's not 20% anymore. It was only 20% that day. It's always some kind of absurd rebuttal. They don't refute anything. They just What PolitiFact or what the Washington Post or what others will do is they'll say, it's true that Hunter had these emails and that the emails state this and that. It's true that, however, and then they'll say, well, it's not that big of a deal. You can't prove anything. And oh my God. They'll reiterate everything that you accuse them of, acknowledge that it is completely shady and they're probably breaking the law, and then say we can't really prove anything. With Trump, they don't even know if there's classified, if there's top secret or classified data. They have an informant and they have a letter from the National Archives. Okay, he states that everything was declassified. He declassified everything. He states that those top secret documents or special access program intelligence, or the documents deemed SAP Intel or Special Access Program or Top Secret Intelligence, he states that, well, it's his, he's a former president, it's for his library, and it's for his records. Okay? President Obama had 30 million unclassified documents. What are the chances that there are some documents that are classified, maybe even at the top secret level, but their classification became unclassified because he's President Obama? Or because he is, like George W. Bush, a president revered by the American political establishment. Okay, 30 million unclassified documents. Trump has 15 boxes. It's the end of the world. Clinton had servers running top secret and special access program intelligence outside of the U.S. government and being stored in hardware outside of the U.S. government on cell phones also. And that's okay. They made a complete mockery of classified data. I mean, if you were going to take an official to task and you ignore Clinton's certain crimes, there were crimes there, you can't transfer top secret data. Again, I want a Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump 2024. I think that we need to relive. I think Hillary should be the nominee. She's better than mashed potato brains, anyone is. And she should run again. They have nobody else. And this could be her time to become the first female president. I think Trump would defeat her again. But we need to relive that for a number of reasons. But she did commit crimes. Can have servers outside the U.S. government. This is like, you wouldn't even be allowed to be an employee at IBM or Microsoft or McDonald's. You couldn't just plug in your own servers in a corporation. They wouldn't allow that. For obvious reasons. But you're a former president with the power, like I said, to declassify anything. And if there was restricted data pertaining to nuclear armament, then he would have had to have gotten his Department of Energy to sign off on it. But again, it's like, where's the evidence right now that he deliberately and intentionally needed those documents for some nefarious reason? They say, well, he removed classified data. So did Clinton. In a far worse manner, by the way, on servers. So that basically was like easily accessible to every foreign intelligence agency. That's according to Comey's own words. And Michael Hayden. And anyone who knows anything about technology. You don't even have to be an expert. And all these wonderful experts are saying, oh, well, Trump, he removed classified data. He was the president of the United States of America. So we know that this is political. And we know that it's actually Democrats when they tore up and ripped apart norms and tradition, the same norms and traditions that they care so much about. When Trump got into the Oval Office, they investigated him. When was the last time that happened? Now he left. Then they want his documents back for his library. When was the last time that happened? And then they're investigating him on every, like, Georgia, New York, state level. All of these Democratic Party prosecutors. And then they say, well, Mueller was a Republican. It's like, well, there are never Trump Republicans like Cheney. Pointing out that Cheney, trying to say that Cheney or Lincoln Project is like a bipartisan effort against Trump. These are the people that Trump kicked out of power within the Republican Party. Of course they're going to side with Democrats. It's completely meaningless to say that Cheney is against Trump. Cheney is basically a Democrat when it comes to wanting Trump out of office. And it's not for any moral purpose. There is no moral purpose to want Trump not to run again, other than simply craving power, political influence. It's a moral imperative to vote for Donald Trump. Do you want record low unemployment? Do you want record low in poverty? We had a record low in poverty under Trump. So every socialist, edgy, morally superior socialist out there should want Trump. We had a record low in poverty. If you care so much about poor people, why wouldn't you want a record low in poverty? Not since they recorded the poverty levels, according to CNN and others, starting in 1959, it's never been lower in the U.S. than around 10%, which is what it reached with Trump. That's according to CNN. And the median incomes were the highest household median incomes ever. And we had real wages up. And we had an expanding economy. And we were in such a great position, we could level tariffs at China to make sure that they abide by proper protocols in terms of trade and other issues. What's wrong with this man? Like, what did this man do to you, Democrats? They broke you. The soul and the spirit and the psyche and the emotional, Trump broke these people. Because for what reason, we don't know, but it's really about political power. It's never been about morality. They're actually the corruption is far greater on the Democratic Party side. It's just that you have everybody from Jimmy Kimmel to loyalists within the Bureau like Peter Strzok and Comey and McCabe and all of these people. You have almost everybody in political media harping on how horrible Trump is, but they can't prove it in the court of law. You could definitely prove that Clinton committed crimes in a court of law. You could definitely prove that Hunter did with 150 suspicious financial transactions. And people just waiting to testify against him. But see, again, they investigate themselves to say, well, I couldn't find anything. They investigate Trump, then that's to cover things up. Then they investigate Trump to go after him and say, oh, he must have done something wrong. We're investigating him. It's like, well, everything's political now. You're investigating him for a crime he didn't commit, and then 2 years after the fact, when you know he's conversing and corresponding with the U.S. government on these boxes, and he says he declassified everything, now it's, we're going to get him on this. Before, just a couple weeks ago, what happened? I thought he overthrew democracy. I mean, you hear these imbeciles like, he tried to overthrow democracy. He tried to undermine democracy. Well, then indict him. Oh, you can't indict him because he didn't. Because you had a whole summer where $1 to $2 billion in property damage, 19 lives lost, and 14,000 arrests. And I support the cause of why peaceful people were demonstrating. Majority were peaceful. But it doesn't really matter if the majority is peaceful. You have $1 to $2 billion in property damage. Okay, linked to those demonstrations. And then you focus on one day because it's politically convenient? Give me a break. Hit subscribe to this channel. They can't indict him on anything he did. They might indict him on something he didn't do. So, they could indict him. He could win a court trial. And then they could try to just take advantage of the media support or the media frenzy to try to knock him out at 24. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now.